For the second time, Paul Brunton came to the Maharishi, which is to our benefit. Otherwise, the look of grace that Paul Brunton received would have submerged with him. But the whole world had to know about the Maharishi. The whole world had to receive the message of I am. So the higher power guided him back to the Maharishi. He came back determined to experience the truth. He had interviewed many sages and saints, all of whom were talking about the truth. Now he wanted to experience it. A determined Paul Brunton arrived in Arunachala. Seeing his determination, B.V. Narasimha Swami and the other devotees helped him to build a hut in Palakothu, a compound next to Ramanashramam. He decided to give his all to experience the truth at the holy feet of Ramana Maharishi. Paul Brunton's perseverance, determination and total faith are qualities which we all have to imbibe. He had many interviews with Ramana Maharishi, short and long. He was always seen following the Maharishi with a notebook and a pencil. He put searching questions to the Maharishi until he understood the direct teaching of self-inquiry thoroughly. He did not leave the Maharishi. The Maharishi was also determined to give his everything to Paul Brunton because this teaching had to spread all over the world. After understanding it in depth, he included it in his book, A Search in Secret India. It was the first time in the world that the guidance to turn one's attention to the inner light, the truth that I am is God, flowed from a Western pen. The same truth that the Bible expresses, I am that I am, and the kingdom of God is within you. Through his powerful words, he was able to communicate that when each one of us turns within, the inner light is available to us, not in the future, but right now. His lucid words brought not only many Westerners, but also a host of Indian scholars to the Maharishi. Major Chadwick, S.S. Cohen, Maurice Friedman, Dr. Hafiz Sayyid, Dilip Kumar Roy and many others came to Ramana Maharishi only after reading A Search in Secret India. In the Maharishi's poem Navamani Malai, Necklet of 9 Gems, he reveals that Arunachala gave him the task of spreading the truth of I am all over the world. How could this happen when he himself would not even move an inch from Arunachala? So a Paul Brunton had to come to make it known all over the world. Brunton became instantaneously popular. True seekers who were suffering in many parts of the world saw the glimmer of light through this book. The emphasis on individually turning one's attention within to experience the truth, that is the secret which influenced both scholars and laymen. To quote Brunton, the words of this sage of Arunachala still flame out from my memory like beacon lights. Roy Emerson wrote, I pluck golden fruits from rare meetings with men. It is certain that I plucked whole baskets full with my talks with the Maharishi. Our best philosophers in Europe could not hold a candle to him. One cannot forget that wonderful pregnant smile of his with his hint of wisdom and peace. He was the most understanding man I have ever known. You could be sure that some words from him would always smooth your way a little, and that word always verified what your deepest feeling already told you.
In memory of Paul Brunton, I would like to quote more from his book. Brunton, what exactly is this self of which you speak? If what you say is true, there must be another self in man. Bhagavan, can a man be possessed of two identities, two selves? To understand this matter, it is first necessary for a man to analyze himself. Because it has long been his habit to think what others think, he has never faced his I himself. He has for too long identified with the body and the brain. Therefore, I tell you to pursue the inquiry, who am I? You asked me to describe the true self to you. What can be said? It is that out of which the sense of the personal I arises and into which it will have to disappear. Brunton, disappear? How can one lose the feeling of one's personality? Bhagavan, the first and foremost of all thoughts, The primeval thought of every man is the thought I. It is only after the birth of this thought that any other thoughts can arise at all. It is only after the first personal pronoun has arisen in the mind that the second personal pronoun, you, can make its appearance. If you can mentally follow the I thread until it leads you back to its source, you will discover that just as it is the first thought to appear, so it is the last to disappear. This is a matter which can be experienced. Brunton, you mean that it is possible to conduct such a mental investigation into one's self? Bhagavan, certainly it is possible to go inwards until the last thought I gradually vanishes. Another time, Brunton asks, what path do you advise? We need your grace. Bhagavan, be still, do not think, and know that I am. Brunton, should I meditate with eyes open or closed? Bhagavan, you can meditate with eyes open or shut, whichever suits you best. It differs with different people. Seeing is when the mind looks through the eyes, but if it is not looking because it is focused within, it does not see even if the eyes are open. It is the same with sounds. If you pay attention to them, you will hear them, but if you persistently focus only on the self within you, you will not hear them. So too with the postures. Postures are immaterial for this path of wisdom. Posture really means steadfast location in the self. It is internal. The best posture is to be in the self. Should we make effort? No one succeeds without effort. Mind control is not one's birthright. The successful few owe their success to perseverance. When attention is directed towards objects and intellect, the mind is aware only of these things. That is our present state of suffering. But when we attend to the self within, we become conscious of it alone. It is therefore all a matter of attention. How should we meditate? Bhagavan, all you need to learn is to close your eyes and turn inwards. That which you seek is inside yourself. Brunton, is the thought, I am God, helpful? Bhagavan, I am is God and not thinking. Realize I am and do not think I am. Know it and do not think it. I am that I am means that one must abide as I. One is always the I alone and nothing else. At that time, a pet squirrel was awaiting an opportunity to run out from Bhagavan's sofa. Bhagavan caught it and said, all wish to run out and rush out. There is no limit to going out. Happiness lies within and not without. When Brunton was in a quiet village near London, Bhagavan appeared to him in a vision and asked him to write his second book, The Secret Path. Then, by the grace of Bhagavan, a cascade of writing followed, resulting in 9 books. Of these, The Quest for the Overself is of paramount interest because he has shared all that he experienced in the presence of Bhagavan as guidance to seekers and how it can be put into practice. In the year 1938 or 1939, there was some misunderstanding between Paul Brunton and the Ramanashrama management, because of which he couldn't take down notes in Bhagavan's hall. He was so angered by this that he couldn't even live near the ashram. He left. Supported by the king of Mysore, he stayed up to 1947 in India, but he never stopped being in contact with Bhagavan. His devotion and surrender to Bhagavan was complete, and he was in constant connection with Bhagavan through ecstatic letters. In one of his letters he wrote, Bhagavan is I am, all the time meeting in the inner space of my heart, where Ramana Maharshi always resides. Bhagavan was also very affectionate towards Paul Brunton. One day, in his hall, Bhagavan openly said, Paul Brunton's thought comes to my mind. I am sure Paul Brunton is also thinking of Bhagavan. At that very moment, halfway across the world, Paul Brunton was paying his obeisance to Bhagavan before giving a talk. Another time, in the hall, Bhagavan received a pamphlet in the post in which there was a quotation from Paul Brunton. He read it out, saying, "Paul Brunton writes, I remain perfectly calm and fully aware of who I am and what is occurring. The self still exists, but it is a changed, radiant self. Something that is far superior to my important personality rises into consciousness and becomes me. I am in the midst of an ocean of blazing light. I sit in the lap of holy bliss. Divine grace descends and acts only when it is invoked by total surrender. It acts from within, because God resides in the heart of all beings. Its whispers can only be heard in a mind purified by self-surrender and prayer. Rationalists laugh at it, and atheists scorn it, but it exists. It is a descent of God into the soul's zone of awareness. It is a visitation of a force unexpected and unpredictable. It is a voice spoken out of cosmic silence. It is cosmic will which can perform authentic miracles under its own law. This incident has been mentioned in Day by Day with Bhagavan. In 1952, after the Maharshi dropped the body, Paul Brunton came to Ramanashramam, and it was beautiful because he didn't feel any difference. When he was there earlier, in the physical presence of the Maharshi, it was the Master's spiritual presence that he was soaked in. He writes, "The Master's death of the body had not ended our relationship or barred our communication. He still existed in my heart as a veritable force, an entity bereft of flesh, but clearly present." He adored the Maharshi as a pure channel for the higher power. When he was requested to give a message for young seekers, he said, "Pursue the inquiry, who am I, relentlessly. Analyze the entire personality. Strive to find out from where the I thought arises. Continue your constant meditation. Keep turning your attention within. One day, the wheel of thoughts will slow down, and intuition will mysteriously arise. Follow the intuition and let your thinking stop, and it will eventually lead you to the goal of unwavering and perpetual self-awareness." After his illumination in 1963, Paul Brunton became a gentle, irresistible powerhouse of peace. The radiant beauty of his inner light attracted many seekers. His never-say-die spirit can be seen through his years of search for a genuine spiritual experience. Even though he got this for the first time in the presence of the Maharshi on their very first meeting, it remained latent within him for many years. He had to go through the rough and tumble of the spiritual path before he could make it his own. In all his encounters with fresh seekers, he used to emphasize that one has to pursue the quest within by implicitly putting into practice the sacred words of the Master. He wrote, "I had all the human failings. I had fallen by the wayside several times, but it is also true that I picked myself up each time and at last achieved the goal." In the 1970s, Appa Pant was the Indian ambassador to England. Thanks to the influence of Maurice Friedman, he was already a great devotee of Bhagavan. He wanted to express his gratitude to Bhagavan by unveiling his portrait at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in London. A big gathering was expected. As part of the celebrations, a souvenir was brought out. From its conception, I was consulted. I advised them to invite Paul Brunton to participate in it and give the principal talk. Brunton instead sent an article for the souvenir. It was a glorious adoration of his guru, Ramana. Later, I had it printed in the ashram journal, The Mountain Path. 40 years have passed since I walked in his abode and saw the Maharshi half reclining, half sitting on a couch. After such a long period, most memories of the past become somewhat faded. If not, they lose their existence altogether. But I can truthfully declare that in this case nothing of that kind happened. On the contrary, his face, his figure, his surroundings are as vivid now to me as they were then. What is more important to me is that at least during the period of meditation, the feeling of his radiant presence is as actual, as vivid today as it was on the first day. A remarkable devotee extolling a remarkable master.